Hello, everybody, and welcome to the candidate forum. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'd first like to thank Tommy Storms and Tom Ramsey for being here at the candidate forum. It's so vital to have an open dialogue, to have an effective democracy, and talk about issues that are important to Pine Lake. So thank you guys for being willing to serve. It's a blessing and a curse, I think. Let's say that. But I have a couple of announcements first. This weekend is Plains Easter Groth. That is the baby of Lynn Cowley. We're having a potluck starting at 10. Is that correct? And we were going to have some beignets and mimosas as well. And if this combination of events, Easter, Mardi Gras, as Easter Groth works out, we're going to do a Memorial Day and 4th of July called the 4th of Memorial. So, look out for that. I also like to thank Maddie Hamilton. Is there a question?
I would just like to add that there's going to be an Easter egg hunt.
Oh,
That day.
right. And Kate is passing around things as well about our collection of recyclable stuff. Okay, so it's great. I'd like to thank Maddie Hamilton, who was Plains' fantastic social media technical expert. She publishes the Plain and Simple every month as well, and is doing the Zoom broadcast, and we will be posting the video afterwards.
Oh, can I have one thing too about the Saturday? If you want to bring some food for the little food pantry, I'm going to be collecting that.
Food pantry collection. Thank you. Also, please turn off your cell phones and no little chitter chatter during the thing. We have a sensitive microphone that will pick up all the stuff you say, so don't do that. And I'd like to introduce now Kathy Zahn, who's going to be our moderator tonight. She's a long time resident of Pine Lake and arts historian. Very good. She has a string of accomplishments in the arts, business, and world of government. She most recently directed the world premiere of a new puppet play with original music, which opened at the International Puppet Festival in Brattlesboro, Vermont. And we're doing it in 2024. Kathy moved to the corner of Laurel and Dahlia in 1999 to live with the poet Alice Teeter, now her wife, and in 2002 they bought a house together on Ridge Drive. They host an art salon, travel in a camper, and enjoy their nephews and nieces. And she has served the city of Pine Lake, Georgia as a council member from 2004 to 2011 and as mayor from 2012 to 2015. Pretty amazing. Lit that morning up. Kathy was also voted Queer of the Year in this year's Pride Lake. So thank you, Kathy, for being on. I'm going to turn it over to her and fix it against the cup.
Thanks. I debated whether I should wear my tiara. I didn't want to upstage anybody, so I didn't. Thank you for coming. This is very important. Let me explain how we're going to roll. You and others submitted questions in advance on a Google poll, completely anonymously. Some people put their names, and I have gone through those and synthesized, categorized, trimmed them down to a dozen or so questions. So I want to thank you if you participated in the poll, and thank you for being here. So the way it's going to roll is that each person will have 1 to 2 minutes for each question. It's not random. We will tell them how much time they have, and possibly followed by a brief discussion between them. I think we've had quite enough people making public statements without taking the opportunity to actually ask questions, seek understanding, and to approach the matter at hand with less judgment and more curiosity. And I would like to invite you to take that stance tonight. You may have already made up your minds, I don't know. But if you can listen with less judgment and more curiosity, I think we'll all be well served. So not all these questions will have this sort of open forum, but I thought it would be a worthy democratic experience to try it. Maddie's going to keep time. Thank you, Maddie. When you see that red flag, finish your thought in one sentence, not two. Is that right? And I'll generally offer alternate, that's the word, thank you, between the two of them. So we're gonna start with just sort of each candidate has 2 minutes to just say whatever the heck they want to say. And by a flip of the coin, we'll start with Tom Ramsey. Tom?
Good evening, everyone. Pine Lake's an amazing community. We care about our neighbors. We care about our environment. We're committed to music and the arts. We have tremendous opportunities in front of us right now that require the ability to manage and execute sound policy in the present, while keeping an eye on our city's future. The positive future that we envision, one with lower property taxes, a robust commercial district, a well-managed public space. It's all possible if we actively plan and execute a sound growth strategy. I've got 3 main reasons for running. Ensuring the care and maintenance of our public ecosystem, the lake, wetlands, and stormwater. And that begins with building a functional public works department. 2, reinforcing the importance of public safety to the day-to-day quality of our lives. Growing and helping us grow our commercial district. Achieving equity in code enforcement through proactive rather than reactive enforcement. Prioritizing the commercial development of the Rockbridge Road corridor because it's critically important to lowering the residential property tax burden for residents, and it will provide us with a more livable city. My 7 years in Pine Lake have been filled with many volunteer activities. Through playing, through focused city committees based on commercial development or eco arts development of public space. Anyone who knows me knows I'm passionate about Pine Lake and I'm willing to do the work. I look forward to earning your vote and working with the mayor, city manager, and other council members to manage the present and plan the future of Pine Lake. Thank you.
So I'm gonna ask you all to hold your applause. I know you are gonna want to clap every other minute, but to get more questions in, just sit on it. Tommy Storms.
Hi, I think many of you know me, but many of you may not. I've been pretty busy over the last few years doing some things here in Georgia I'd like to tell you about. And I've lived in Pine Lake for 37 years. I live right across the way here. Bev Vaughn and I, my partner of many years, founded the American Association of Adapted Sports Programs at the dining room table right here in Pine Lake. It is now considered the leading organization in the country and the only athletic association focusing only on students with physical disabilities. These kids have decided or have described themselves as invisible, not seen. And often because they were underseen or not heard, they didn't rise to their potential. So I've spent many years working with the underserved, and that's where my heart is, with people who are on fixed incomes, with people who are struggling to do some things. I'm concerned about the taxes in Pine Lake. I'm concerned that we need to be aware of how it's affecting folks. As I've been in this campaign, I don't know how many of you know, are all people who are already looking at refinancing, already looking at Airbnbs, taking on renters. There's some real suffering among some of us. And I would love to support the actions that are already underway and others that can be considered by the city to make a difference there. Our policies with my organization have been, not only are we unique, but they've been adopted nationally. We're now a quasi-state agency, this little thing we started here in Pine Lake. But Georgia looks to us to be to help them stay in compliance with federal laws. I therefore work at the state capitol here. I've worked with 4 governors. I've worked with many of our legislators. I bring relationships and strategies that I really would like to apply here in Pine Lake. I think what we've done is great. I want to commend the folks who've gone before us, and I really want to enhance and again add to what we've done right. And be in a place where we don't blame people for things that went wrong. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We're all doing the best we can. That's where I come from. I heard the call. We need more people to step up. I'm stepping up. And it's an offer. I hope that you'll get to know me better. I'd love to earn your vote. And I appreciate very much you being here tonight.
Great, thank you both so much. So our first question, I'm going to give you 90 seconds each to talk about the commercial district development. And we'll follow your 90 seconds with a couple of minutes of lighthearted banter. No, I'm serious. Sorry, that's another show I'm on. Annexation has always been top of mind for us. Is it good? How far? How wide? And so I would like to just invite you all to share your general thoughts about annexation in general, and also the development of the business district that's already into the city. So again, 90 seconds, and then we'll have a 2 minutes give and take. Okay, let's start with Tom.
Okay. Let's start with the commercial district in general. We've just finished a 4-year project. Redoing the road, widening the road, re-leveling the road so that it tilts away from Pine Lake rather than down towards the lake as it did in the past, which is going to help our stormwater quite a bit. But the commercial district is actually the key to reducing the property tax rates in this city. There's some work on the state level to reduce the rates of increase, and those are good things, but that's not going to solve the problem that we have in Pine Lake, which is an imbalance of commercial and residential taxes. We need to bring that commercial rate up. As far as annexation goes, I'm in favor of the annexation that is getting underway right now in terms of the Gap Tooth and the Dean's Market properties. And I think annexation is a good thing. It's going to allow us to have a continuous commercial zone, which will help us in applications for enterprise zone status for that. It will help us with acquiring low or no interest rate financing. And that will help us to attract new businesses and let them repair their facilities as they go.
With regard to annexation in the business district, I think that we're pursuing things the right way. I think that there's a real opportunity, as Tom says, to bring in some extra revenue. But having lived here for 37 years, I can tell you annexation is something we've talked about in all that time. I think we've made more progress than we've ever had before, and I'm excited about that. But it doesn't address the issue of taxes where you have people I've met during this campaign, one woman who owns 2 houses and pays $5,000 in taxes for the 2. Another gentleman who owns 1 house and pays $8,300 in taxes at this point. We have got houses that are being taxed by the county for the same, their square footage, the same for an older house as for a brand new house. And when you walk the city or you talk with people, which is what I had really hoped would happen with our Find the Sign contest, but that you would meet people who are like, I want to redo my house. I want a coat of paint. I want to redo the wiring and these other things, but I can't because the taxes are so high. So I think we need to look at exclusions that we can do for those who are at risk here in Pine Lake to bring down immediately some of these taxes while we're using splosh funds for capital gains. And we're also pursuing annexation and some of these other good things.
Great, thank you, Tom. So the next question is about the ever-present challenge of finances. As you all know, our city taxes are some of the highest in the state. So I'm curious about what ideas you might have for 2 things, reducing expenses and also increasing revenue, maybe developing new streams of revenue. One questioner put in a suggestion about selling parking passes to people from outside the city, especially during the beach season. So that's the question is, how can we manage our city budget so that we can take some of the pressures off that millage rate? So I think that this time I get to start with you, Tommy Storms.
Okay,
Thank you.
First of all, I want to say the best thing we ever did was hire Shaquia Thornton. What a wonderful administrator she is in looking at some of these things for us. And I think that our budget is well in hand and she's already looking at some things. I'd like to go to a zero budget, which means on paper, look at what did we say we need and what do we absolutely need to pay for? And is there any room at all to reduce taxes or apply them in a way that it's going to help our city? As far as the parking passes, I would do it as a QR code. I'd have people who come have to scan the QR code, pays it immediately, goes to the city, something really simple like that. During when we have festivals and things, maybe we certainly would not have, we would have free parking because we want people to come in. Block grants are something that we could apply for, especially for those, again, who are on fixed incomes, low incomes. There are block grants that are available that we could get, that we could help to offset some of that. Splosh funds are going to help with capital gains. We say we're going to offset our taxes with that. We're not having to use our taxes to pay for that. I think that's great, but we haven't actually said we're going to do it. We have $800,000 in splosh funds right now that have been committed to us over the next 5 or 6 years, and 2 million more we've applied for. We don't have it yet, but if we get it, and I think we should continue to pursue it, I want to see those tax rates come down. We're the smallest city in the state of Georgia, and we actually have the highest rate of taxes than anyone else. And again, as I've said, I met people who are hurting. I want to help them. And I want to see that the city doesn't become a place where it's only those who can afford it. I want us to continue to have our diversity and anyone be able to live here.
Tom?
Yes. On taxes, I would be open to seeing charges for parking and things like that. I agree 100% with Tommy that Shaquia Miller Thornton is the best city administrator we've ever had. Our budget is well in hand. The city is not hurting for money in terms of day-to-day expenses. It's in good shape. We've got a great reserve fund. In terms of the SPLOST monies that are available to us, we do have the money to fix Oak Drive. That money has been set aside. The problem has been finding a contractor willing to do it. We've qualified for $2.4 million of new SPLOST money that should be coming in the next month or so. It'll come in pieces, $1.2 million a year. That has been categorized into broad categories, infrastructure, stormwater, things of that nature. Both of those apply greatly to our lake and wetlands. That money is going to help us with the capital expenditures, not capital gains, but capital expenditures like fixing the dam, repairing the flume, things of that nature. Those are big ticket items. And that SPLOST money is a godsend for this city. $1.2 million a year is more than 100% of our annual budget. Okay, you're going to see things get fixed in and around the lake and wetlands that we could have only dreamed of had we not gotten this money. And we were only able to get it because of our city administrator and the mayor and council who just went down. Thank you.
Okay, good. So we're going to take 2 minutes now for you all just to talk to each other. Ideas that you heard that really resonated with what you said, and also what do you agree with? I mean, it's not just about being combative. It's like, where are you in alignment? So 2 minutes on this, Maddie.
If I may.
Sure.
I had heard you saying that have this 1.2 million that's going from year to year. And I called the city manager. I talked with Shaquia about it, and I said, it's my understanding that the 800,000 is really over 5 or 6 years. We could spend it sooner than that. And she said, yes. And I said, I understand from Tom Ramsey, he's saying we have the other 2 million. She said, that's not true.
We don't have it
We've
yet.
applied for it. The four smallest cities in DeKalb County went to the county and said, we want more of the tax money from SPLOST if we can get it. And we've applied for the 2 million, but and I could be wrong, but as of about a week and a half ago, she had indicated to me We've only applied. There's no guarantee that we're going to get it. We hope for it. And if we have it, we definitely would apply it in the very prudent way that you've said.
Okay, well, I have heard that the award is coming.
And
Okay,
I hope you're right.
I do,
And I hope you're right.
I do too,
hope
I
you're
do
right.
too, because it's game-changing money for
It
the
is.
city of Pine
It
Lake.
definitely is.
You know, as far as, other ways that the city could earn money. You know, people have talked about charging for beach access, putting gates to the entrance to the city and charging
I don't
folks
think
to
those are
come
good
in.
ideas. Do
Are
you?
they? No, I don't.
I don't think those are good ideas. I think that I like it very much that we are an open community, that we invite people to come in from around. I think that keeps us safer for one thing, because we have people who are invested. They may not live here, but they're invested in Pine Lake. They're invested in also seeing that we're strong and that the beach is available to them and some of these other things. I do know that we make it all up. I've said this before. We make up everything, our family, our life, whatever. And so should also be looking at all possibilities that might be available to us. But I'm in agreement with you on that.
Okay,
Let me pick up on that. Since you brought up the SPLOST, I actually, you know, there's this funny thing happens when somebody says something and then it's heard and then it becomes a fact, like the election was stolen. And if you say it enough, it's like, oh yeah, I heard the election was stolen. So I actually sent to Quias the questions that came in on the poll to ask her, are there statements in this these questions that might not be completely verifiable? So she wrote to say that the 2 million in county allocated SPLOST is earmarked for us. I think that whatever has happened, and this is a constantly changing landscape, as you all know, is dedicated, and this is the thing to remember, is dedicated to projects that benefit both the city and the county. For
Right.
example, the stormwater, anything having to do with water quality. There is an additional 400,000, and we won't get it all at once, that's allocated for the capital, recreational capital projects like the bridges. So that money is ours. It's got our fingerprints all over it. It's just a question of timing, sequencing, and when it rolls off from the county. But I wanted to pick up with, so here's this, you have mentioned several things. You've mentioned the roads, you've mentioned the flume, you've mentioned
the dam.
there's various things. So given that we've got this money allocated for us, I want to ask you all, where are your priorities? Knowing that, of course, your priorities are shaped by how much each of those things cost, which is maybe not completely known to us right now. But what are the things that you feel like we need to, Tom, there was something that you said, fix things that we've only dreamed of. Well, help us see that dream. And so to both of you, I would say, what are your priorities around the development of the infrastructure? We'll take 2 minutes for each, and then we'll move to the next question. And I think Tommy, I'll kick this one to you first.
Okay.
Okay.
I have several concerns about our infrastructure. And I'm a person, I don't want to stand in a place of making people bad and wrong, because I think we're all doing the best we can. And we put a lot on the citizens of this small community who serve at City Hall. You know, everyone who eventually gets elected, there's a lot to learn. I'm concerned about the care and maintenance of the lake. That said, I know that the city has really feverishly been working on getting a maintenance crew, getting some things together. But we are in a state now where we have got invasive plants that will not be easy to get rid of. It's not a simple fix because the maintenance has gone awry. I live along the lake bank, and we have had rats. We have quite a problem with snakes and other things like this. So I'm glad that the sheep are there, but I think that maintaining both sides of the creek bank, which in all the years I've lived here, though the city owns my lake bank, they don't take care of it until now. So that's a positive thing. The flume and the dam and some of these other things need regular maintenance. And they need to, that needs to be something we not only address with the splosh funds, but we need to address it here in the city with the people who know what to do. We have a handful of people, Tom, I think you're one of them, who knows a little bit about how to take care of these things, but we need more people, maybe some workshops on, and going out and looking at how we can get involved and use those things. Our roads, definitely. Fixing the bridges, definitely. Rebuild the gazebo, definitely. Fixing the lake bank, definitely. Maintaining our lake, definitely. Making sure that that we are keeping our community safe by watching for the potholes and monitoring Rockbridge Road and making sure that it's safe.
And thank you. Tom?
Yeah, regarding how this money gets used, I think number one for me would be the care of the wetlands, the lake, and the related stormwater pieces that go with it. I mean, that's the crown jewel of the city. It needs some structural fixes to the dam, starting with the toe of the dam, but really the entire dam needs to be fixed. It's been subject to erosion because of high rainfall amounts, high water levels. You know, that type of thing has, along with the invasive species that have grown there, it's undermined our dam, and that needs to get fixed. It doesn't all have to be done at once. It can be spread over time, but we need to upkeep the maintenance on that dam. That's something we've never done since the day it was built.
That's right.
Okay, from the day it was built, we've done cosmetics only. And whatever grew down there, grew down there. Now we have trees growing down into the dam, tunneling through it. It's a problem. We're gonna have the money to fix it now, and it'll take some time. Other things that need to happen, you mentioned the gazebo replacement. I was part of an eco arts committee that was appointed by the city to look at the lake and wetlands area and how we could repurpose it going forward. We looked at replacing the gazebo with a multi-purpose platform that could be used for music, it could be used for education, it could be used for yoga, it could be used for many things. It'll be lower than the gazebo was, and it needs to be handicapped accessible. Everything we do in this city needs to become handicap accessible. Thanks.
I would say yes on that.
Yeah. I should hope so, Betsy. Let's jump to the third rail of Pine Lake politics, and that's public safety and the police. So I'm going to give you each 2 minutes, and then again, I'd like to encourage a little bit of discussion for a couple of minutes. So the police used to be 24/7. Before it wasn't 24/7. You know, compliance, I mean, code compliance, is it their job? How to do it better? So I would just like your frank assessment about how the department's operating now, what you see as the strengths and the weaknesses, and what improvements or changes you might advocate. And in particular, there's a lot of interest in looking at the probationary system in the courts. And so if you have an opinion about how the probation system works now or could work better, that would be great too. So just police and public safety in general, 2 minutes, and then 2 minutes together. All right. I think, Tom, you need to start this one.
Okay, well, thanks. You know, Pine Lake is a bubble of serenity inside of DeKalb County. If you look at a crime map, everywhere around us, there's crime of many different types. Here, we have very little. And there's a good reason for that. It's the Pine Lake Police Department. And if we did not have our own police department, we would become a part of the Tucker Precinct in DeKalb County. The Tucker Precinct in DeKalb County, at any given time, on any given shift, has 30 officers patrolling an area of 41 square miles, covering 216,000 residents. In Pine Lake, we have 3 officers patrolling at any given time, up until they go off. Covering, let's round it, 800 residents in an area of 1 square mile or less, actually. The ratio in Tucker Precinct is 1 police officer to every 7,200 residents. In Pine Lake, it's 1 police officer to every 267 residents. Striking number, but it's the reason why we can walk our streets at pretty much any hour and feel safe and secure. You can't feel that anywhere else around us. Let me talk for a moment about code enforcement. Code enforcement in the city as it stands right now is reactive. Someone calls and makes a complaint and the chief follows up on it. Perhaps a citation takes place. We need equity in code enforcement so that it is enforced proactively and consistently around the city at all times.
Tommy?
Well, first of all, I'm a big supporter of the Pine Lake Police. I think that I'll echo a lot of what Tom said, and what I'll just say, I'll echo a lot of what you said because it was a lot. I think our response times are less than they used to be. I'd like to see that be better. I know people who moved here just because they felt safer. A lot of us are women. We have a high population of women here. And it is nice to walk down the street and feel safe. My concerns are outside of the city. There is gang activity. We do hear gunshots. Recently, we've heard automatic weapons. So I agree. We really need to have our police and continuing to work in cooperation with DeKalb County. I don't personally think, although I understand why we do it, that our chief of police should be the code enforcer. I know why we're doing it, because it's what we have to do right now. I run a small organization with $1 million budget, more or less the same size as the city, operations manager, executive director, finance, everything. Small organizations, you wear a lot of hats. I mean, I'm a paralegal and a legal research paralegal and mediator because it was needed for human resources and other things in our company. We're doing the same thing here in Pine Lake, wearing a lot of hats. I want to look at how we can have our police, have code enforcement be something that we can do fairly, having people doing their job and not feeling pulled in a million different directions. I'm not sure the answer to that yet. I just know that we're doing the best we can right now, and anywhere we can find improvement, I'm all about it. We definitely need our police and to continue to keep our community safe.
So a couple of minutes, I want to urge you to really dig into the issue about probation. There's a lot of ticketing on misdemeanors leading to, probation, and then there's this slippery slope, and so there's a lot of heartfelt desire to make the probation system a more equitable and if there is such a thing as kind justice, and I think there might be, how we could address that too. So yeah, so if anything that you all said, and then if you can sort of just touch on the probation thing.
If you don't mind if I start, Tom,
Sure.
I'm concerned about the predatory probation system that we have, not just here, but in a lot
All
of
of Georgia.
states, all of Georgia and a lot of other states. That's where back in the early 90s, there were laws that were passed that where someone was needed probation, and they were at home with a leg, the monitor or however they were. That person who's charged is paying the fees for that. It's no longer being paid by the cities and the municipalities and the counties because this was done to reduce rates. But what it's done is it's taken small things, small traffic tickets, and winding up in a situation where the person is in jail or on probation and their fees are going up and up and up. So that is a concern for me. And as I said, we make it up We have the power to do it differently. Just because the county and the state are doing it some way, I'm telling you, we have the ability to do it differently, to be that kinder Pine Lake that you're talking about.
You know, I'm not 100% sure that we have the power to do it differently. I think Pine Lake has already taken a number of steps with our judge to give people as much opportunity as they can to reduce their fine and get their fine paid within a reasonable amount of time so they don't have to go into that probationary system. I know that the city has looked hard at which public probation or private probation system they use, and they've gone with the least aggressive that they possibly can.
So it
I
sounds like
don't
we're-
know enough personally about that system yet
Yeah.
to say that the city has the ability to
Well, and
override the
It sounds
state.
like we're in agreement, and when I say that, that we have the ability, you know, I've been working with the state legislature for 30 years where I was told, we can't do that, that's not possible, that door will open for you, and there's always possibility when we're working together. It would start with the city saying, this is the direction we want to go in, and then advocating with our state legislators, our governor, and et cetera, to say, we want to do this. I've learned that everything has an exception when there are enough people behind it and doing the right thing. When we
As
do the right
I've
thing.
told people
do it.
in the meet and greets that I've done.
You did
is-
meet and greets?
I did.
Did you? I
Yeah.
didn't see any of them published
You
anywhere.
weren't invited.
I noticed that. I noticed that. I did.
Let me finish my thought here. What I've told people about private probation is that I would be very pleased to find a way to not have to use private probation. And if it were within the power of the city to take such an action, I'd be supportive of it.
That,
Let me finish a thought on code enforcement, because we wanted to follow up on that before. One of the things that I talked to the chief about a few weeks ago was hiring a part-time certified code enforcement officer. We already have a part-time court clerk who works 2 days a week. We could add 1 day a week for that person, and that would be more than enough to have a full-time certified code enforcement officer who doesn't wear a police uniform.
So
I just want to, one
one
quick
quick one.
I just want to mention that and you'll acknowledge, I sent you a text message when we started this campaign, and I said, as unusual as this is, I hope you'll come to my meet and greets, because I don't want it to be an us and them ever in Pine Lake. There are people who told me things that I'm not sure you know, and vice versa. I would love if you had accepted that opportunity, and I reached out to several members of council and others to determine if you were having meet and greets. But that said, I want you, I'm still in that place.
I
to
did
work
not
with me.
dictate rules to people
on
who held
unit-
meet and greets for me. Most people don't have room for 25 or 30 people in their house, so
I'm not sure what you're talking about,
most
but
of
just
the
to
most
say,
of the
I would
time,
really
what I would
love
say is.
to have us working together in every way. I totally would respect you, and I would love if that had happened. And I hope that other candidates in the future will do that we will have
Perhaps they will.
open meet and greets. I
So
look forward to
let,
that.
let me wind this up just by asking both of you, have you attended court?
Yes.
I'm gonna kick this next question off into Tommy, and again, this is about the environment. Which is our most precious resource, I think. Most people will agree with that. So we're gonna have 2 minutes and then 2 minutes for back and forth. So there's been a lot of controversy around the swimming policies and the fishing policies. So maybe that's the third rail of Pine Lake politics, not the police. People are already concerned, it's February and already we're seeing, fish hooks in where they are not supposed to be. So if you could comment on the current fishing and swimming policies, and how would you envision changing or adapting them? 2, 2, and 2. And I'm gonna start with you, Tommy.
Okay, the fishing policy, the swimming policy, was there a third part?
No, we'll just focus on that for right now.
Okay. Pine Lake has fish as you know. We also have fishermen and they have to be licensed through the state like anyone else. They have to go and get their fishing license. So that's the first thing. We shouldn't have people just sort of dropping a hook in. And there are certain responsibilities they should be following. With regard to, if there's overfishing, I think that we should address it. But I'm just concerned about what we should do as a city with regard to limiting, having sort of having a season for us, having a short time or moratorium when we, as we did recently, so that we stop fishing until we can sort of get a handle on and control some of that. I think we should stay on top of it. I don't mind outside persons coming to fish, but we could use more education of them when they come. Maybe when they, maybe we have them stop by City Hall and get an information brochure about fishing in Pine Lake, about our wildlife, about the ducks that have been affected, about how we expect them to behave while they're here. As far as the swimming policy, my concern, I think we're at a current limit of 100 people, was recently passed within the last few months. That's a lot of people. I think it's more than, I wouldn't want to see 100 people on the beach. That said, I think we should just continue to monitor it, look at what's reasonable. We need to, we have our beach monitor, and I think that they do the best that they can. But we need to control the number of young people who may be unaccompanied. We need to make sure that it remains safe and continue to monitor the limit. We are now on the internet as Pine Lake Beach. You've all seen it, right? It's like a clarion call. So we just need to stay on top of that.
Tom?
Yeah, and as far as fishing policy, you know, it's, as Tommy said, it's a matter of education. That means it's a matter of signage. Because we don't have the personnel to go around to every fisherman and educate them. So we need good signage. One thing we might want to consider is we have a state license regulation. Perhaps we need a city license regulation, even if we only charge $1 for it. Have them come to Pine Lake City Hall, sign a paper which has our rules and regulations right on it.
Exactly.
Okay, and they get a copy of it when they sign it. Then we've got something that we can, if we find somebody who is violating the rules, we can do something about it and maybe put them on probation for a while. But, you know, fishermen are the first naturalists that we've had anywhere. I think if you looked at state park regulations, you'd find, and national park regulations, you'll find, you know, fishing rules and regulations where they encourage fishermen. Fishermen are sometimes the people who give you the first warning if there's a problem. So I encourage fishing, but I like the idea of a city license. On the swimming, I'm in favor of the policy like we had this past season. We're open from dawn to dusk during the week. We have a closure on weekends to make sure we're in the high volume times. We have turnover. And I would keep it the way it is and monitor it.
I think I'm going to dispense with the back and forth because I've got a couple of questions and I want to keep moving. So thank you. So I'm going to pick up this theme about the park ranger idea to help enforce or monitor activities at the lake. That was a suggestion. So have you all any thoughts about someone who could serve in that capacity that would monitor activities, maybe also do some educational? So quickly, a minute each. Okay. And I'll start with you, Tom.
Yeah, you know, I mentioned earlier this Eco Arts community project committee that I was on for the city. This was pre-COVID. One of the things we looked at was re-envisioning our park space and our wetlands. It included redoing our learning kiosks around the lake. it included rehabbing the existing beach house into an education center that could be used with interactive things for educational purposes. That would also be the place where you could have a naturalist or a ranger. That ranger could be your fishing monitor at the same time as doing educational duties as well. There are grants available from DNR, which you need some skin in the game to apply for. Now that we've got the SPLOST money, we have the skin in the game to apply for DNR grants to get support for some of this.
I think that if the funding is available, if we can write a grant and find a way to pay for many of these things that we want to do, I think it's a great idea. But again, I want to go to a zero budget on paper and look at what we can afford. There's things we want to do, but if my taxes are going to continue to go up and up and up and up to pay for it because the grant hasn't come in, I would love to have our own code enforcer. I would love to have a citizens committee on variances. I think a citizens review committee. There are a lot of things that I want to do, but do we have the money to do it? The city is always going to, any city, municipality, anybody, once you've got the money, you'll find a way to spend it. I want to look at doing what we need to do, having the people that we need to have, and making sure that we're able to afford the things before we, actually do it.
Okay.
And that's a big, big project. So I'd love to see.
Great,
that.
yeah, thank you. So there were not, most of the questions under Public Works, which is our next category, were incorporated into like environment and public safety, et cetera. But there was one that about Pigpen, our lead. So I'm not actually going to ask you a question. I'm here to deliver information.
There you go.
Jaquia says that it's sitting up there in the lot.
Mhm.
It's been delivered. Now they just have to work out the staffing. Now, working out the staffing plan, as you imagine, could have some little snags to it. So I'm gonna start, we just have a few more minutes. So I'll have a question, 2 minutes each, and I'll start with Tom. So the city has changed. We now have some younger residents with families. Many people are working 2 or 3 jobs. They want to be involved, they want to participate, but when you say to them, come to city council meetings, it's like, when am I going to have time to do that, even if it is on Zoom? So we have renters who are often overlooked. We have the younger residents. How could you incorporate their perspectives into your decision-making? In other words, how do we throw the tent doors open a little wider? So 2 minutes each person, and Tom, I'm just gonna start with you.
That's an interesting question, Kathy, because I can tell you as when I was a board member for Plain, which I resigned from in early January, one of our goals last year was to try and bring younger family residents into Plain. We've also tried bringing apartment dwellers and renters into Plain as well. It's been difficult. Even doing multilingual signs and flyers has not changed the engagement level there. We started, I would say in fall of last year, to do a midweek sunset get together on the porch here. To see if we could bring out a younger crowd. That was a suggestion from the few younger members that we had. We had pretty good success with it. And I think Plain will probably run 4 of those this year rather than 1. In terms of doing it for the city, how the city could reach out to those folks. I think the biggest thing would be to get the city on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms, not as a method of exchange and discussion, but just from an informational perspective to make sure that we're communicating what the city is doing and what information the city would like to extract from these residents through social media. We have to reach them where they are.
Thurgood Marshall was one of my favorite people to read. And his opinions about the ADA when it was passed, one of his frustrations that he shared was, we're here to offer all these services to the disabled and we're pulling teeth to get them to show up. Why don't they show up? And we realized the number one reason why persons with disabilities don't take advantage of programs, even when you have them available, is they don't have the transportation. So it takes digging a little more to find out, but I will tell you what we found out in our own programs. When you take and look at the people who are in your community, then look at what they need, then you engage them from that point. If we had more children's programs and we have the children in one room and we separate the parents out while the kids are here. And we start talking to them about what would you like to see for your family? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to help coach? What about working in small groups where we could even have like blocks within Pine Lake where you have sort of almost like a hall monitor, but you have a street monitor, and they do something like God love her, Ellen, who does dinner for 7. If you've not gotten involved with that, you sure should. It's how I met my best friend, Liana Artinian, who passed away almost a year ago next week. It is a great way to meet your neighbors and find out what they care about. Find out what your neighbors care about, and you'll be able to engage them and support them, and they will come forward and they'll want to give. We've got talent we're not taking advantage of. We've got programs we could be offering. And one last thing in my few seconds, I want to thank the Neighborhood Association and Calvin and others who proposed that the beach house may be able to be used for free for a lot of the things that we want to do. I think they deserve a hand for that. We're going to start with, we're going to try it, out initially, but I think it's a wonderful idea to bring the community together.
Nice. Okay, so as always, I have more questions, and as always, time is running out. I'm just gonna pose these questions. It's possible that you all will stitch them into your final closing 2 minutes. That'll be totally up to you. There was a question about, gee, we have a porta potty for the beach. And for people who don't live here, don't pay taxes to support any of this. What would you consider making an indoor bathroom available to local residents? How would that work? 20 years ago, Ann McAllister gave the city a chunk of money to buy, she gave us a chunk of money. We used it to buy that property. Some people look at it and go, what an overgrown mess. Other people look at it and go, wow, that's an untouched natural preserve where the pollinators go crazy. So is that the highest, best use of that land? Just a question. Here's a good question. In this era of contested elections, not mentioning any names, what assurances can you give that you'll accept the results of this election? A fair question. Are there any circumstances under which you would challenge the results? And I want to then make something a little personal, and I hope it's not too personal. Tom, you did a really good job talking about what you've been doing for the city, but I would love for you to have had the time to talk about the skills and experiences, your life's work that prepares you for this moment. I think that Tommy did a great job in explaining how her starting this organization really has prepared her for this. But the question I would ask you is that, I didn't hear it. I heard it on the grapevine that the gated community was something that people attribute to you. So did you change your mind? Were you misquoted? Were you misunderstood? Are people just talking out of their head? So these are, and the only other question that I don't get to ask.
So this is our closing statement?
No, I'm just saying, I just want to let you, I want to leave you all with a little hunger for more. And, if any of them resonate or sing to you, then you can address them, but you don't need to. But I wanted you to know there were other questions that we really didn't get. And the last one was, how would you support a greater sense of unity and collaboration in the city? So if we'd had another 30, 40 minutes, we could really get into that. These are good things to talk about at the breakfast this coming, the brunch this coming Saturday. But we're now gonna ask, each candidate to make their closing statement, 2 minutes each. I wanna, once again.
Before we get to answer all those.
No,
questions?
you're not gonna answer all those questions.
Okay.
They're just out there. Some of them go, you know, if you, like, some of them like make you tingle, then you can work something in. I just want to remind you that this is being recorded and will be available on the Plains website. Just go there and you can see it. And we think that's all I need to announce, Calvin. I'm just going to turn, Tommy 2 minutes, Tom 2 minutes, and then we'll give everyone a rousing round of applause, including those of you who came out on a cold and blustery Wednesday night to participate in civic dialogue.
Great.
Thank you all so much, and thank you both very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Take it away, Ms. Storms.
All right, so thanks for the opportunity to address a few things that I care about. You know, I think the rumor that I wanted a gated community came from when I went to city council when the taxes went crazy for the last 2 years, actually. And I said to the council, this is not tenable. It is not tenable to support the city and all the ideas that we have and even the good things that have been done on the backs of us, the taxpayer, and we are the highest within the budget. That's the taxes. It's still the highest of that $1 million. And I said, we create it all. So let's look at everything. And that's what I mean by the zero budget. Does this work? Does it not work? Should we have people who are taking on 4 different hats? Can we do contractors versus those who are hired? You know, what would it cost if even we were a gated community? What would it cost if we wanted to, you know, do the annexation? Everything. I said, let's throw it all on the table and look at what works. And from that, somebody went, she wants a gated community. And I ran for office once before and I said, we really need to work on the police because they're not involved with the community. And somebody said, she doesn't want the police. So that kind of thing can happen. But I am sincere with you that I love the city. I love the many things that we've done. I think that our past people who have served really deserve our vote of confidence. I mean, our vote of support. And I sincerely thank them. But more than anything, whatever the outcome of this election, what I want to see is a Pine Lake that works, where we are one people expressing our opinions and what is concerning to us, where it's not this group and my private meetings and this group that is completely open and sincere to say, come one, come all, let's talk and sit down and do what we need to do to make a better city.
Thank you, Tom. Tom?
Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I normally don't like to read my resume or list all my accolades. I've been in the filtration industry for 45 years. I've worked in sales, marketing. I've traveled the globe doing it. I've got 4 patents on wastewater treatment, removing heavy metals from wastewater. I've been general manager of a $350 million company. So I know how to read a budget. I know how to strategically plan. I've been chairman of the American Filtration and Separation Society, which is the largest organization of filtration professionals in the world. Did that for 2 years, served on their executive committee for 6 years. In 2013, I started my own business, Ramsey Strategy Consultants, and doing strategic planning and special projects for filtration companies. I did a lot of work with private filtration owners that were looking to sell their businesses and things like that. But that's enough about me. That tells you that I've got a business background and I'm qualified to hold the office. What I wanted to say to you here is that I'm a community conscious candidate and I'm ready to do the job. for city council. I'll bring the same passion and commitment to service to city council that I've brought to every other endeavor that I've done in the city of Pine Lake for the past 7 years, and there's been a lot of them. I look forward to working with our mayor, our city manager, our city council to manage the present and plan for the future. I'd appreciate your vote on March 12th. Thank you.
Vote for me.
Thank you all.